Oh, I wasn't planning on eating. Yeah. I think if you look at how much attention that we pay to both power and features, I mean, obviously, with every new generation of our flagship processor, we focus a lot on performance, but equally as important, if not more important, we look at power consumption in great detail. If you look at the 820, it could have been, a bigger beast than it currently is. I mean, we could have added more features, we could have cranked up a lot more power, but in the end, we thought that battery life is as important as performance, which means that we were careful as to, how and where to crank it up. And we also analyzed the industry in great detail to see what kind of users would need this type of horsepower. And what we settled on, and you were in that presentation, is the experiences, right? So we look at all the experiences that we think will matter in the year 2016 going to 2017. VR is one of those experiences. We consider that experience to be one of the most taxing. And based on what our processor, the 820, can do compared to the 810, it is a significant improvement in terms of VR support, being one of the pillars, as well as all the other areas that we're focused on. The advanced imaging, quick charge, security, all of those are what we think are significant improvements over the Snapdragon 810. It's just essentially being able to tap into all of our blocks, being able to utilize the GPU more effectively, being able to use the display, being able to use the connectivity part of it. It's allowing our customers to basically tune their VR experience around our SoC. So when we launched the 810, we talked about how that processor was end-to-end 4K, meaning not just capture, playback, display, but also compression in terms of HEVC. We will continue to support that with Snapdragon 820. Now, I'm actually quite surprised that you said that it wasn't optimized for 810. And keep in mind, H.265 is an industry codec, it's an industry standard. So there are a lot of, dependencies, not just on the chip itself. So I think when we launched support for HEVC was still pretty young in terms of maturity. So I don't think the codec was quite there yet. I think it's matured a lot since then. And I would like to, I haven't seen it, honestly. It would be interesting to see how it performs now. A good question, and Continuum is a Microsoft technology, so it's entirely up to them to decide whether or not to make it an industry standard. But we are excited for that feature, and in fact, we helped HP launch the Elite X3, which is one of the first Windows 10 mobile devices in the market that was launched at MWC. It does support Continuum. It works really, really well. Continuum is one of those features that Qualcomm is really excited about. It's just that the challenge has been getting enough devices out there to support it. So you mentioned the 950, the Lumia 950, and the 950 XL, which is based on 808 and 810. Those two devices support Continuum. The HP supports Continuum as well. And we are eager to see what Microsoft has installed for that feature down the road, because based on what we've seen so far, the ability to take your smartphone and turn it into a PC experience with a bigger display, being able to leverage some of these Snapdragon 820 technologies such as 802.11ad, HDMI, USB Type-C. I mean, those are some of the features that we are enabling Microsoft to deploy something like a Continuum experience. So, like I said early in our conversation, we paid careful consideration to power consumption. We've been working very closely with our partners to make sure that, I wouldn't call it heating issues as much as like all the use cases that people are accustomed to, like gaming, 4K capture, surfing on the web for hours at a time. User experiences that, if done long enough, it does encompass some heat. And we've done a lot of work to address each of those areas with the 820. So when we say that 820, not just compared to Snapdragon 810, but even as far back as the Snapdragon 801, we've improved power consumption by up to 30%, simply because we paid a lot of attention to that area.
Oh yeah, heat issue.
I'm sorry?
Heat issue.
Look, if you look at the commercial devices that were launched at MWC, and there were 7 of them, from the GS7 to the LG G5, there has been not a single mention of heat. There has been no indication that reviews or reviewers have been seeing any kind of heat issues based on Snapdragon 820. And I'm pretty confident, based on our relationship with our customers, the constant dialogue that we're having with them, that there is no heat issues moving forward. So again, when we look at the future, the next generation of our technologies, it's all based on user experiences. So we truly believe that there is a place for VR. I think not just for this year, but going into next year. There's a lot of chatter, a lot of talk about how VR is going to drive all these new user experiences, not just gaming, but how you visit a country, how you visit a museum. All of that requires, especially if you're using a mobile device to drive the VR headset, all of that requires a collective effort from not just the CPU and the processor, but all of the existing technologies to make sure that experience is done well. We think that there is more room. We have an entire roadmap on quick charge. We think that charging speeds can be even better. We think security can be much more refined. With our Sense ID solution, we think we can take security to the next level, beyond what already exists now with the current fingerprint readers. Our Zeroth technology, we are putting a lot of huge bets into that technology as well, because we think that with our deep learning, our neural networks technology, we can create a chip that can really perform based on how a person uses their phone. So a lot of technologies, and I don't know if you got a chance to check out some of the demos. We showed a technology called Scene Detect. We demoed a technology called Smart Protect. Those are 2 different areas where we are using behavioral learning, using deep learning, M2M technology to improve the user experience. In fact, if you look at an entire roadmap, we are investigating all areas of IoT. So we have what's called the adjacent segments in our company, in our corporation. We are looking into automotive. So we launched 820 derivatives, 820 processor derivatives for the auto industry. So car manufacturers like Audi has already committed to the 820 processor. In terms of deploying it on their car, we have over 13, and that pretty much means every car manufacturer is using Qualcomm technology to some extent. So whether it's the Snapdragon processor or modem technology, all of the car manufacturers are on board. In terms of wearables, we talked about how we have 100 designs based on Snapdragon and smartwatches, the most recent of which was our Snapdragon 2100 Wear platform, which we launched a couple of weeks ago. And with that launch, we also announced it with several designers like trendsetters like Fossil, Michael Kors, not just the typical OEMs that we used to deal with like LG, like Samsung and Motorola. We are launching watches with fashion designers, and that's a testament to how much our Wear platform has grown. And IoT also means routers, networking. I mean, as mundane and boring as that is, we are also supporting all those areas outside of the smartphone. So we believe that there is a huge opportunities in those areas, and we are all in terms of the IoT segment. Well, none of our technologies are mandatory. So if you look at quick charge, look at fingerprint sensor, all of that are optional technologies that we enable the OEMs to help differentiate the device. And security happens to be one of those key aspects. Now, in terms of security, we have a hardware block in the Snapdragon, regardless of what the processor is. We have secure MSM technology across the entire roadmap. not just the 820, but going all the way back to the 800 processors, all the way down to the 200 tier. And this is basically a hardware block where the OEMs can do stuff like hardware encryption. They can do authentication via our secure MSM block, and it's there for them to use. And we have an entire team to support it. So a lot of these customers, believe it or not, are already using it.